Hello, I'm Steve Weber, the host of Beatles Rewind. As always, I'm joined by my co-host and fellow Beatle maniac, my partner Cassandra. Good morning, Cass.
Good morning. It's great to be back.
Cass, a couple days ago, I told you I was going to a concert by a Beatles tribute band, remember?
Yes, I do. How was the show?
It was good. It was a great show, a lot of fun. But the funny thing is, it got me to thinking.
About what?
It just made me wonder. Everyone was watching this show, singing along and clapping, and I wondered how many people in the audience did they realize that most of those songs, all those great hits, the Beatles never performed those songs in public.
That's the huge paradox, isn't it? You hear Eleanor Rigby, Strawberry Fields Forever, anything off of Sgt. Pepper, and you just assume.
You assume they played it live, but they didn't. After they broke through in the United States, they quit touring. After just 4 years. Their final show was August 29th, 1966 at Candlestick Park. And then, poof, they were gone from the stage.
And it wasn't career suicide, which is what it might look like from the outside. I mean, it was actually revolutionary stuff.
Exactly. So today, we're going to get into why. Why the biggest band in the world quit touring right at the absolute peak of their fame.
And it really boils down to 4 huge pressures that were just crushing them. The technology, their own creative growth, sheer exhaustion, and, some very real danger.
Okay, let's start with the technology, or I guess the complete lack of it. It was a technical nightmare.
It really was. The central problem was scale. They were playing these enormous baseball stadiums, 50,000 people or more.
Right.
But they were still using their little 100-watt Vox amplifiers, the same amps they used in tiny clubs back in Liverpool.
100 watts. In a stadium, it's nothing.
It's a joke. I mean, Paul McCartney said it all the time. He said they couldn't even hear themselves play. All they could hear was just this constant deafening screaming. The music was completely lost in the noise.
And if Paul couldn't hear, what about Ringo, all the way in the back?
Oh, Ringo had it the worst. He admitted he couldn't hear a single note of the music. He said he was reduced to just watching the, and I'm quoting here, 3 backsides wiggling in front.
Just to guess where they were in the song.
Exactly, just to keep time. He felt they were playing, really bad because it had gotten so sloppy.
I think George Harrison put it most bluntly. He just called the concerts a freak show. He said the music had nothing to do with it anymore.
Yeah, he was done with it. And a sound engineer at the time even admitted that your average high school auditorium had a better sound system than the Beatles had on the road.
So things we take for granted today, like stage monitors?
Fold-back speakers, yeah. The speakers that point back at the musicians so they can hear themselves.
They just didn't exist yet.
They hadn't been invented. They were essentially playing deaf.
Which I imagine makes it pretty hard to evolve musically. Yeah. And that leads right into the next point, this huge creative gap that was opening up.
A chasm, really. Because in the studio, they were just light years ahead. By early 1966, they were making Revolver.
An absolute masterpiece.
Full of backward tapes, Indian instruments, huge orchestral arrangements. I mean, things that were just impossible to do live.
So they record this groundbreaking album, and then they go out on that final tour, and the set list is...
It's all the old stuff. They couldn't play a single song from Revolver on that tour. Not one. The only new song they could manage was Paperback Writer, because it was still a pretty straightforward rock song.
So they're forced to keep playing songs like She Loves You, which they must have been so tired of.
Oh, completely. One author, Martin Clunan, he called touring a process of self-denial for them. They had these massive creative ambitions, but the tour forced them back into this little box of 2 guitars, a bass, and drums. It was musically stagnant.
Okay, so you can't play your new, exciting music, and on top of all that, you must just be absolutely wiped out. The exhaustion factor seems huge.
It was immense. I mean, they had been on the road almost non-stop since 1960. That schedule was just brutal. Paul, who was always the most pro-touring member, even he admitted that America was starting to pall. The excitement was gone.
It was just a grind.
A total grind. And the breaking point, the real final straw, seems to have been this one incident in Cincinnati, just a few days before the end.
Right. What happened there?
Well, first their show got rained out, so they had to reschedule it. The stage they ended up with was awful, just this temporary thing covered with some corrugated iron.
Sounds miserable.
And then after the show, to get them out of there, they were loaded into what was described as a big, empty, steel-lined removal van with no furniture.
Like a moving truck?
Exactly, just a big metal box. They were literally sliding around in the dark, getting bruised. It was humiliating.
And this was the moment for Paul, wasn't it? He'd been the one pushing to keep going.
He was the lone holdout. And after that van ride, he was done. He later said, "I finally agreed." And if Paul McCartney gives up on touring, it's really over. The price had just gotten too high.
And we haven't even gotten to the scariest part. It was becoming genuinely dangerous.
Terrifyingly so. You have to remember, they arrived in America not long after the Kennedy assassination. That sense of vulnerability was in the air.
And then things got very specific. The Philippines incident sounds like a nightmare.
Oh, it was harrowing. They accidentally snubbed the First Lady, Imelda Marcos, by not showing up to some official event.
And the government's response was?
Immediate. They pulled their entire police protection detail, just vanished. Suddenly, they were left to face this angry mob at the airport. They were being kicked, pushed, manhandled all the way to the plane.
And their concert earnings were taken, right?
Stripped from them. George Harrison's comment afterwards was so grim. He said something like, "Well, we have a couple weeks to rest before we go get beaten up by the Americans."
And he wasn't really wrong, was he? Because then came the whole more popular than Jesus firestorm.
Right, a comment John Lennon made that was totally fine in the UK context, but when it was reprinted in an American teen magazine,
it exploded.
It did, in the South especially. There were boycotts, protests, organized bonfires of their records.
And it went beyond protests. There were credible death threats.
Very credible. It's a chilling detail. But John Lennon's eventual killer was someone who was enraged by that specific comment back in 1966. The danger was real, and it was personal.
Which brings us right back to that last show at Candlestick Park. Even getting to the gig was an ordeal.
It was. The security concerns were so high they had to be transported in an armored vehicle. Paul said it felt like he was in some weird sci-fi thing. Imagine that. Not a limo, but an armored truck to your own concert.
So they finish that show, they walk off stage,
Yeah.
and then they just stopped. There was no big announcement.
No, nothing formal. They just didn't book any new dates. People would ask, and they'd just say, "Not yet," until everyone sort of figured it out.
But inside the band, they knew.
Oh, they knew. John said as he walked off stage, he was thinking, "This is the end, really. There's no more touring." And George, on the plane home, apparently just sighed and said, "That's it. I'm not a Beatle anymore."
But in a way, that's when they truly became the Beatles we remember most. Freedom from touring is what led to Sgt. Pepper.
Directly. They could finally make an album that was pure art, a studio masterpiece that they never ever had to worry about playing live. It changed everything. It shifted the focus from the gig to the album as the main event.
So they quit because they loved the music too much.
Exactly. They loved it too much to keep playing it badly in stadiums where no one could hear it. They chose the art over the spectacle.
And that's the great irony of those tribute bands. They're giving audiences an experience that never really existed after 1966.
It's a beautiful illusion of a band that had already moved on.
In fact, Paul McCartney actually had someone record that final Candlestick Park concert. But here's a final thought for you to chew on. The tape ran out.
No way.
Yep. It ran out of tape in the middle of their very last song, Long Tall Sally. The recording just cuts off mid-note, a perfect symbol for the sudden but totally necessary end of their life on the road. Well, thanks for joining us today. Whenever you feel like knowing more about the Beatles, visit us at BeatlesRewind.com. Every day, we do something new there. Song reviews, album reviews, movie reviews, documentaries, trivia, all things Beatles. Every day, 8 days a week. You can find us on the website, BeatlesRewind.com. You can subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Amazon Podcasts, practically anywhere. The Beatles, all day, every day. We'll do it again tomorrow.
We certainly will. Farewell for now.
Until next time, when you listen.
Your mind conducts its own symphony.